Well, what is going on, everybody? It is Mr. Banks here coming at you live with another trade recap breakdown, but it's also going to be another video on how to find support and resistances and use them throughout the day to make your intraday trades. So I want to first start off by saying, stocks again will break out and retest, or they will break down and retest. So let me say that one more time. Stocks will break out and retest, or stocks will break down and retest. So what do I mean by that? So let's just first take a look right here. Here are levels, right? Here are some levels that it's showing you. It showed you in pre-market that this was a level right here. You could have drew it up here as well, 408.63. I liked 408.50, more psych number, round number. It's also a level as well. So what happened? Well, what do I mean by stocks breakout and retest? Well, look, it broke out and now it retested, right? Breakout, retest. What happens? We can even do it up here. Breakout, retest, right? Bounce, breakout, retest. Another one, break down and retest. What do I mean by that? We'll take a look here. Break down, right? It broke down from the support line, and then it came back and retested, right? Broke down, retest, right? Came up, broke down, retested. Even here, broke down, retested, right? We keep seeing this, right? This is why it is so important to have your support and resistance lines charted. You can do supply and demand zones, whatever you just need them. But specifically, I'm talking about support and resistance lines, not supply and demand. There is a difference here. So breakout, retest, breakdown, retest. Now, let's get into why I wanted to take calls over 408.50. So let's take a look at homework. I put these out every single day on my watch list. Definitely play more than SPY. But here, this is what I put out today. I said tight range this morning. You can even check the time. Tight range this morning, 408.50 to 409.50 reject, and 407 on my levels. I even put this on Twitter for you guys today. 408.50, 409.50 reject, and 407. So let's first just find out, how did I get these levels? Well, 407, what was I looking for? Pre-market low, right? About 407.19, so 407. I knew if we were going to break this pre-market low, we could take a put, right? Which you could have here. It wasn't the major move, but it's still a move, especially if we were going to have a down day and we broke and held underneath the pre-market low. That definitely is a very good risk to reward play to be taking. So I'm looking at pre-market, definitely for my opening range levels. They'd love to retest them. They love to bounce off of them. Stocks only do three things. They bounce, break, reject. Stocks will bounce on a support. They will either break a resistance, right? So they'll break a resistance up, or breakout. And you can say they will fail support, but if they break down below support, right? They can break down or fail support. That's the third one. And then bounce, break, reject. And then they can reject resistance, right? So the reject is the opposite of the bounce, right? And then it can either break out or break down. So stocks will only do these three things, and that's it. That's all they do. Bounce, break, rejects. Now, bounces and rejects usually will give you the better play and a bigger move than trying to play the breakout or the breakdown. Because, guys, we see so many times that if a stock breaks out, it can be a fake breakout, right? We see that all the time. Or if we're playing options, the premium gets burned. Say we can break out, pull back a little bit, false breakout, but then we consolidate and flag out, and then we finally go, right? So you could get chopped up there. So that's why I really prefer to do a bounce, right? So if we took a bounce off of this strong support here, this is where we broke out, came back and retested, a big breakout and retest, as you guys can see, right? Breakout at this level and came all the way down to retest it. So this would have been a strong bounce, give you a very nice play to play from, as well as rejects, right? Again here, kind of got into this zone and it rejected. And what gave you that big move, right? Here we go, breakout, bounce, right? Breakout, bounce. And then once we bounced and held, we saw the bigger move. So bounce, reject, breakout. It's going to be the three things stocks will do. They will bounce, right? They will bounce, they will reject, and then they'll break out, or they will break down. All right. So now again, 407, I saw 408.50, right? 408.50. So pre-market, you know what I mean? I was looking right here. I saw this as a level. I saw 408.50. I said that's all the way up to 409.50, right? To 409.50. So why did I see 409.50 first? Well, we were ranging in this zone, but 409.50 is that little gap, right? So if we have a little gap, I want to go meet the gap first because we're probably going to reject before we fill, right? We'll probably reject before we fill. But it's also, kind of where we bounced yesterday, right? 409.50 is where we bounced. So these are the major levels I was watching it open. And I was going to see, since we were down here, if we came up, we would reject it, right? So we did when we opened up. Take a look here. We rejected that 409.50 level not perfectly, but we rejected that 409.50 level, right? You could see here, rejected it perfectly, right? When we came back up, we rejected that 409.50 level perfectly, which coincides with that gap, right? The beginning of the gap. So we're going to reject it. So we broke down off of that reject, off our levels. And now the breakdown, right? We had 408.50 as a level. Well, since we already passed it in pre-market, once we broke down and held, 408.50 now becomes my level on our breakout move, right? Because the stock broke down and retested, but it held, right? We held this very strong zone at 407. We held this very strong demand zone, right? So with this hold, I knew that if we were going to break out here, which going back to pre-market, right? Major level resistance. If we were going to break out here again, I'm taking calls because I knew that it was going to be a nice breakout because we were breaking through a solid resistance. And we had a nice wick to the bottom, full body candle up. You know what I mean? It was a very nice bounce play. Market was looking strong. Tesla was running. You know what I mean? Market started to look strong. We started to see a reverse and we started to see stuff running. So, we know that SPYs is heavily weighted with Apple, Microsoft. These are the things that you need to be looking at along with the SQs, right? But that would be another video. Let's get back to just these support and resistances. So again, pre-market, very vital, right? Pre-market vital is where I find a lot of levels. And you can see, look at this area right here, right? You could see that these levels are very important. So this was the reason behind my 408.50 call, right? So I called it live on voice. Sorry, let me go to calls real quick. Right here, 409. I said 408.50 break. Obviously, it was on voice. A 408.50 break. So that was the reason behind, right? We broke down. We knew that if we are going to get a solid breakout over this good resistance, we knew that we were going to really break out. And we saw movement in Tesla. We saw movement in the market pointing upwards, right? We saw green. We knew that SPY was going up. So, and also Pelosi's plane landed, right? Pelosi's plane landed. She was safe. That's what the market was waiting on. Once she landed, right, we knew the market was going to rip. And that's exactly what happened. You know, the market was waiting on it. And once she landed, the market started ripping. So another conviction on why I wanted to take that 408.50 break. Okay. Looking at 409.50, right? Let's look at 409.50 real quick. Let's look at 409.50 real quick, right? Back to the 10-minute. So 409.50, what came in play later on in the day at 409.50? Well, take a look here. Take a look here, right? 409.50, what happened here? We saw a nice resistance, right? We saw a nice resistance on 409.50. And then we failed it, right? So these levels come into play throughout the entire day. Once I drew my 408.50 level, I had this level, right? Playing the intraday, right? So I didn't draw this until we broke out. And now I knew that this was going to be a big level for us, right? The bodies lined up. It was a breakout. We saw that this was a resistance, right? Shows that this was a resistance. So good line to draw. And once we got here, I drew this next line, right? Body right here. We saw that we can't break over with these bodies, right? The wicks are up, but we couldn't break over. So this is another strong resistance. And once we broke over, you could see the candle, the body closed here, bounced perfectly off of it. So this is another major level. And we could see, so take a look at this, right? To even show you guys, 9:55 a.m., right? Drew these levels beginning of the day. Just from these breakouts, right? And seeing that these are these solid resistance levels, solid support levels, right? Resistance, right? If you break resistance, it turns support. If you break support, it turns resistance. So now if you guys take a look, I drew this right here, right? I drew this when this was right here. And look what happened, right? Look what happened. These lines, support and resistance lines, played out perfectly, right? They played out perfectly the rest of the day. So guys, this is why it's so important to draw your support and resistance lines, to know how to draw them. A quick little recap. I try to look at the pre-market for my zones, right? To see what my support and resistances are. From there, I'm going to see, intraday, what's happening. Where is this bouncing off of? Where is there heavy resistance? So we could see that the heavy resistance will turn into support if we break it, right? And we see that a heavy support, once broken down, will turn into resistance. All right, guys, I hope this helped. Hope you see why I took calls off of the 408.50 break. Hope you can see that stocks, right? They break out, retest, or they break down and retest. And stocks will only do three things: bounce, break, and reject. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good evening. I will see you later. Peace.